Welcome back to the PC Perspective Podcast. We are at episode 668. This is being recorded on March 16, 2022. I'm Sebastian Peak.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm Brett Van Sproonberg.
And you can help support our site by going to patreon.com/PCPer. Support the podcast, distribution, our various endeavors, the PC Per arts. Support the PC Per arts. Be a patron. That's the whole Patreon thing, become a patron. Anyway, we have an update on our patrons, don't we, Brett?
We do. Be more like Brian Wilson.
Oh, the Brian Wilson?
The Brian Wilson. And believe it or not, Brian Wilson.
Just lying in bed?
Brian Wilson, my old boss. Brian Wilson. I had a boss named Brian Wilson.
Wait, you were in the Beach Boys?
I assumed that was him.
That's why I thought your face was familiar.
No,
okay.
No, but I did have a boss named Brian Wilson, so my assumption was this was him, and he was finally finding a way to torture me again. So
okay.
Yep.
He found out, he tracked you down by Googling your name.
And said, I'm going to torture this guy more.
No, your old boss might be one of the few people on earth who know how to spell your last name, just because he had to do it for like payroll and stuff.
Yeah, that's I'm
guessing.
Or the bad reviews he was giving me. I don't know why. It was everything was fine. And Matt, I don't want to get his name wrong. Matt
Lay. It's L-E-I-G-H.
It's probably a Lee.
Lee. And actually,
Lee
probably didn't want that read out loud. Didn't want his last name revealed. Sorry,
or
Matt.
Brian's. Yep. But you know what? Yeah. They have the option, just like all the other Patreon members do, to go in and change their name to something. And if we get an email on that, we'll
change your name to, please do not read my name out loud on the podcast. I do not want to be associated with it. Though for some reason I do support you.
Sadly, that one's already taken.
It's at this point every week that we go to Laramie, Wyoming for food talk.
Yes.
Eat a basketball.
Pretty much. This was called the March Madness, and it was a little mad, but it was really, really tasty and savory and tangy. First off, you start with 2 patties, 2 quarter-pound, grass-fed, locally sourced hamburger patties, covered with a layer of queso. And on top of that, they put some fries. And on top of that, they put some spicy buffalo sauce. It's the 4-heat one that they have. It gets your attention, but it's good. But layered underneath those 2 patties is a bed of fresh cut jalapenos. And for some reason, they put lettuce, tomato, and onion on it, which actually worked out perfectly fine. It was a messy burger, but it was a tasty burger. And the fries were a little soggy just because they were trapped in that box for a little while. They couldn't breathe. But, they're warm and tasty. I can't complain. This was a good, solid burger. And it stayed with me for a long time. And this Friday, on the Food Network, you can see Born in a Barn on diners, drive-ins, and dives.
It's all going to go to hell again, isn't it, Josh?
Well,
everything swarms of people descending on Laramie.
Well,
assuming we're live next week.
Because they covered like 6 different restaurants in Laramie, and they're going to have it in a bunch of different weeks. So nobody's going to know which one to go to. So I'll just go to the one that people are not.
That a wise man.
Who would have known that Laramie, Wyoming had 6 restaurants that would have made it onto this show? Either the guy is running out of restaurants or we're just really spoiled here.
AMD has announced some new Ryzen desktop CPUs, 6 of them, and they talked about availability of the new Ryzen 7 5800X3D. Are you guys thrilled about this spring processor update? Did you watch it intently?
I did watch the video.
See, look, there's Robert Halleck.
There's old Robert.
Look at this chart. It shows you the new CPUs. There's a new 5700X, which is 8-core 16-thread. These are all 65-watt parts, by the way. And here's what's interesting. There is a split between Zen 3 and new Zen 2 parts. You've got to hit those price points. So there's a 5600 non-X and a 5500 rounding out the Zen 3 offering. Then you've got a 4600G bringing a new low-cost APU offering. This is going to be a retail approximately $154. Then you've got the Ryzen 5 4500 at $129 and the Ryzen 3 4100 at $99. I didn't mention the pricing. The pricing for the others ranges from $159 up to $299. But the 5800X 3D, I was wrong about pricing. I think I was thinking it was going to be like $500, maybe more. But it's only going to be $449 when it launches on April 20. So you could have that first generation 3D V-Cache product, as long as you don't want to overclock it. Because I guess it's official. There is no overclocking for that. That's got to be, it's a heat issue. We talked about this before.
Yeah, we actually talked about it last week, and it kind of was confirmed that when you stack transistors on top of transistors in this kind of solution, you're going to get a bunch more heat, and also cache in this case tends to suck up a little bit more power and produce the heat. And so when you add heat on heat, things get really hot.
Hot.
You know what I'm saying? The Zen 3 was designed from the outset to be a stackable unit. And yes, they used through silicon vias that go to the cache. And instead of going through kind of a controller and some caps and whatnot, it's literally very, very short copper traces in between the cache and the CPU, as compared to much longer copper traces that you need some kind of filtering at times, and caps and power and ground. And I mean, you still got power and ground to the V-cache, but it kind of cuts out a lot of the middleman. And they designed this from the ground up to be able to do this, which is pretty awesome. And it shows a little bit of foresight that they would be able to implement this on, not only just a modern process technology that we have available, but there is stacking technology that works, and then thermal stuff that still works.
I was going to say, as long as you hard limit it to 1.35 volts and don't allow overclocking, but yes. Apparently that's all they've tested is up to that point. So if you've got a good sample, maybe you can go higher as long as you work around the BIOS limitation.
I think you can adjust the north bridge speeds quite a bit. I mean, obviously you go 3200 to 3600, and then if you feel like overclocking that goes above. Now the Infinity Fabric has nothing to do with the L3 cache. That's all at processor core speed. So yeah, it's kind of cool. Even though they knocked it down 200 megahertz from the 5800X at main boost, they're still saying you see a 15% increase improvement across, especially games, but you're going to see other improvements in other categories that will utilize that huge amount of L3 cache. And that's, wait until benchmarks come out and see what you're using versus what you have. And would you be better off throwing more cores at it and get a 5900? Or are you better off waiting for Zen 4, which supposedly is at end of summer, early fall?
We'll see, but yeah.
Yeah. But hey, at least DDR5 prices are dropping like a rock.
Yeah.
I saw a set of 2x16 and 5200 speeds for $260 today.
Which sadly is a really good deal for DDR5.
Yeah, for DDR5. It's not a great deal, obviously, for DDR4. You can still get 32 gigs of 3600 for $154 with good timings.
Yeah.
You were going to make a point, Brett?
It was the price difference between the standard and X3D version of the processor was that, rumor is that's going to be 15-20% over in games, but the last best price I saw on the 5800 non-3D X was closer to $300.
Yeah,
so it's a $150
right
premium. Yeah. It's a $150 premium for roughly a 15 to 20% game improvement. So
wait, are you saying it's not worth it to pay 50% more for 15% more performance? Okay.
I think I'm putting that out there just so people can do their own math with it.
They're kind of saying this is almost a generational jump in overall performance, even though it's slower clocked, using the same base technology. But yeah, I don't know. It's, I think it is really application dependent. I mean, if you use stuff that will really hammer on L3 and is happy with putting all kinds of stuff in L3, it might actually perform better than upcoming Zen 4.
Yeah.
Now
Just because space is key.
That's a tough one because you could take that $450 and just buy more cores on the existing socket.
Elden Rings laughs at your 18 cores and only uses 2.
Yeah.
Are
Which
you
is
kidding?
double what some of them did.
Speaking of workloads, you can now run Ryzen 5000 processors for your workload on chipsets that they were previously excluded from. And part of the spring update was this quote: in addition to these exciting new processor releases, AMD announces it is extending support for Ryzen 5000 series processors on AMD 300 series chipsets, including all the new desktop processors announced today. Does that mean does not include the previously announced 5800 X3D? I don't know. So if support for X370, B350, and A320. I know there was some support on some A320 boards before.
Yeah, A320, because it's not actually a chipset. It just uses the Southbridge functions built onto your CPU. It's got USB and SATA support. It's like 2 ports of SATA and all those, PCIe lanes. So, yeah, it really isn't a chipset.
These could make very good homes for some of these lower end chips for very, very capable gaming machines.
Oh, God, yeah.
So don't just blow this off. Looks like a really good
And yeah, if you spend a little bit more on a B350 or X370, the features that it comes with are not limited compared to the higher ends. You can get just about everything else you want.
Well, the newer boards had better VRMs, but so you might not be able to put the hottest, biggest, fattest chips on like X370 or certainly not B350.
Why would you?
But why would you?
But here's the deal.
Exactly.
You got to wait for the motherboard guys to put out a BIOS.
Oh, true. As was pointed out in the chat, of course, all those boards are limited to PCIe 3.0. But for the most of the gaming community, for people who are not really I/O sensitive, you're really not going to notice a difference, even with your GPUs.
Intel has a lot of money, and they're spending $88 billion to expand into Europe. It's part of their plan for global domination, of course, but it's an ambitious expansion.
Here's the deal, is there's just not enough clean room space right now for everybody's needs. So there are going to be multiple new fabs across Europe, a couple of different places, and each one of them will probably be $10 billion a pop, if not more. And they're spreading out production across the globe, which at this point in time is a smart thing to do. Now, the problem, of course, with Intel in Europe is they got to figure out their power delivery, because these fabs take up a lot of power. And as you well know,
big accelerator memory. Jeremy, tell us more.
Just like Emerald Lagasse. Bam! No, too old.
I got it.
So what
got
if
it.
you got that cranky old slow CPU completely out of the picture? I mean, the damn thing is just holding the system back at this point. And let your GPU talk directly to your NVMe storage.
kind of like what AMD did.
Kind of like what AMD did, yeah.
Except
but
AMD had actual physical implementation on their PCB.
This is a university project, Josh. Please don't taunt the intellectuals.
Sorry.
Sorry. But no, they did custom build a Linux kernel and actually have sort of got something working somewhere. But yeah, it very much matches that, except in this case, it's an IBM and NVIDIA doing it. So obviously their IBM is doing a lot of the software, because it is, of course, custom software, and NVIDIA is saying, our HPC cards look even better now. You gotta buy them, and damn it, we should get into SSDs sometime. Which, worked very well for AMD when they briefly tried to do that. But it's an interesting idea, and it sort of puts the CPU into the traffic manager that deals with everything else like outside communication and that, but lets the GPU with its insane speeds talk to an NVMe at its own insane speeds. And they're looking at, some for the stuff that the software is optimized for. It is pretty bloody impressive and is playing catch up to what AMD already sort of has been pushing. So I think it's interesting to see. It's obvious that this is going to become a thing with high performance computing, where the CPU is really just too general purpose at this point to actually really participate with the fast kids. Yeah, you're sort of good at everything, but we're amazing at this stuff. You just go and do your own stuff while we're busy. And then when we're ready, we'll tell you to go tell someone else what we did. It's interesting. It's not as shocking as some of the stories seem to have made it out to be, because it's sort of been done before, but at the same time, it's good to see. And Josh, I'm sure your company will be jumping right on this since you stocked up on
right on it. Yeah, no, I mean, NAND is not nearly as fast as GDDR6, but it sure as hell is a lot less expensive. And it's still really fast at 7.4 gigabytes per second. So, yeah, this is a nice thing for those whole GPU guys.
Microsoft is testing ads in the Windows 11 File Explorer. Yes, finally.
That is a horrifying rumor. They didn't mean to spill this.
Allegedly, yes.
To know about it yet.
I'll scroll down to where this is a Bleeping Computer article, and this same Microsoft spokesperson has given statements to all the publications out there. Brandon LeBlanc, Windows Senior Product Manager at Microsoft, told Bleeping Computer that, quote, "This was an experimental banner that was not intended to be published externally and was turned off," end quote. So just forget about it. Windows should be free, and if you want to make it ad supported, fine, whatever.
Windows is a service. It is neither free nor expensive. It is merely a service.
Windows is spyware,
we shoved
but
down your throat.
I guess we're all used to spyware apps that also serve ads on our phones, so what's the difference? And speaking of File Explorer, tabs. Now, on the Mac OS side of things, I'm sure Brett can attest to this, there have been tabs for a long time in Finder.
Yeah, and I hate them. God,
but you can have tabs in Explorer too, starting with Windows 11 build 22.572.
Tabs are good.
No,
I actually don't mind tabs when it's either that or open up multiple instances of Windows that have to either be cascaded or sorted around on the screen.
I like to drag my stuff across my entire real estate of my entire screen, especially when I had 3 of them. It was so satisfying. I was like, take that USB 2.0 device.
Yeah,
there's nothing, especially on big monitors, nothing like this motion of like moving it and then moving it and then moving it to get to that other folder across.
Oh, it's so satisfying. You feel like you're doing real work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's real. It's that real carpal tunnel that lets you know you were doing real work. Let's pause briefly to hear from our first podcast sponsor this week.
Have you heard of Kolide yet? Kolide sends employees important, timely, and relevant security recommendations for their Linux, Mac, and Windows devices right inside Slack. Kolide is perfect for organizations that care deeply about compliance and security, but don't want to get there by locking down devices to the point where they become unusable. Instead of frustrating your employees, Kolide educates them about security and device management while directing them to fix important problems. Visit kolide.com/PCPer to check this out and sign up today. That's KOLIDE.com/PCPer. Use your email and get a free Kolide gift bundle after trial activation. At Kolide, they know end users are IT admins' most significant untapped resources, and they're key to solving the most challenging to fix security issues, including instructing developers to set passphrases on unencrypted SSH keys, finding plain text backup codes and teaching end users to store them securely, convincing employees to uninstall those evil browser extensions that may even sell their browser history. Those are just some of the many use cases not solved by just locking down devices. You can try Kolide with all its features on an unlimited number of devices for free, 14 days with no credit card required. Try out Kolide at kolide.com/PCPer. That's KOLIDE.com/PCPer.
We're back, and we're going to look at gaming, beginning with a look at the RiffTrax game, which is coming to Steam. Now, if you don't know what RiffTrax is, it's basically Mystery Science Theater. But it's
they had a split.
Okay.
So Mike Nelson and a couple of his gang went to RiffTrax, and Joel did Cinema Titanic, and then on to the reboot of MST3K on Netflix, and now on the Gizmoplex, which I'm a backer of. So don't listen to me unless you like it. Yeah, so it's a party game. It's one of those ones where you get a bunch of friends together, or you get them together remotely. So it's up to 6 players and a dozen people on the audience, and essentially you're riffing a movie, or at least movie clips, and whoever gets the most laughs wins that hand. But they've also managed to, and this is amusing because neither side of what became MST3K is particularly technologically capable. They're definitely willing, and they want to try, but they're not necessarily capable. But they've managed to do Twitch integration so that not only can you stream your game, but the viewers can also have an audience poll, which makes it sound a little more interesting if you're sort of good at this sort of thing, where you get 6 really good guys together and are riffing, and wait a second, isn't this their whole way that they make money? Maybe this is a bad idea, guys. But yeah, I think that it's going to be a fair amount of fun. The publishers that did it put out What the Dub quite a while back, which was, there'd be a movie with subtitles and then there'd be nothing. So whoever was it at the time used to have to fill in the dubbed line. And so it should be amusing. It's not the first time they've attempted this, and if it's up your alley, then it's probably going to be amusing. Coming out on Steam and just about every other platform, and it will be cross-platform compatible.
Speaking of Steam, the next title in this lineup, classic gold box D&D RPGs, coming to Steam next week. And look at this 16 color pixel art.
A huge death dragon.
Well, just imagine a limited color palette, very pixelated graphics, someone writing a dragon skeleton. There's some horse writing.
Hey, come on, 40 by 640 looks pretty good.
Get it?
320 by 200, really, for this.
No, I think that was late enough. It would have been 640.
You think so? Okay. I'm not going to count pixels.
This is.
Yeah, I mean, it was VGA at the time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
This looks like EGA to me. But
that one might be. But hey, they've promised that they've upgraded the graphics a little bit.
Why? Why would you want to do that?
I think they've just sort of tried to make the pixels anti-aliased when they're gigantic on a big screen.
There's a couple of feature. There's a couple
Just
of feature.
give it like a CRT filter or something. That's what we need.
Yes, exactly.
Forgotten Realms, the
I've
Archives
actually
Collection.
got the 3 boxes downstairs: Curse of Azure Bonds, Gateway to Savage Frontier, or was it the Eye of the Beholder?
Tools of Radiance.
But I've got
Eye of the
3 of
Beholder
them in the gold box. They're a little water damaged, but they're still there.
I have a couple of them somewhere,
this also includes the Ravenloft ones, which were, I don't think...
this is why we don't go to Ravenloft anymore, by the way.
Well, there's...
Just saying.
That joke was, kind of from there. And I don't think they did the crazy, what was it? The Lost Sun? So you got a totally different planet. Most of your stats could go up above 20. It was a little bit wacky for the power gamers.
Oh, Kent knows.
Sun?
It's Dark Sun.
Yeah, Dark Suns. Lorash, I don't think they did a Spelljammer game, did they? Oh, God, no, they did. Oh, God, they did. It was horrific. Thank you for bringing those brain cells back. Oh, it was almost
physically hurt by this.
You don't remember it, or you would. No, it was like literally a box, and it's like, you're traveling to another planet, and we go bip, bip, bip. Oh, you have encountered Mind Flayer Craft. There's just like a little dot, and there's some numbers going up on the top, and there's nothing you can really freaking do about it. It's just sort of automated until you land at the next planet and don't do anything either. Oh, it was horrific. It was so bad.
DOS games, especially text-heavy ones, are not necessarily exciting to everybody, but Capcom making a game about mechs fighting dinosaurs, that could be exciting, especially for the Marvel crowd. I mean, you gotta have big explosions, street fights, So what is this all about? Exoprimal.
Mm-hmm. I made the observation that normally you have to do this the other way around. Normally there's like a cartoon or an animated series and they might make a game out of it. I expect this to be the other way around. They've made the game first, then there should be a cartoon or animated series. But my gosh, mechs fighting dinosaurs? Is this like one of the most juvenile things you've ever heard of? Yet if you watch the video, they are totally serious about this. Completely and utterly invested, serious nature. The characters in this are not making light of it at all. It is completely serious. Sort of what makes it fun.
A smaller group did, modern weapons versus dinosaurs. I can't remember what it was called, Omega something. But yeah, it was, you were trapped on a planet of dinosaurs, and you had all these, sci-fi weapons. What was that called? I can't remember.
Dino Storms. Anyway. So they've got an advanced AI that predicts where the storms are going to be. Look at all these very serious people.
Yeah, you could build a modern thing onto a giant stegosaurus or something. It was Ark. Mm-hmm. Ark Survival Evolved.
You went back.
You went back
in time, or fell into a altered universe in the Ark.
Yeah, that was Minecraft knockoff with dinosaurs.
Yeah,
and better graphics.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Yes, Michael asks, perhaps, are we reaching peak gaming when we're reaching for mechs versus dinosaurs?
Yes.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, come on. You never went to a...
It's a reach, but I don't think it's peak gaming.
Oh, did you never go to a gaming convention where it was BattleTech versus Godzilla or a Rift versus Godzilla? It was always just...
I've never been to a gaming convention like that.
Oh, that's too bad.
We always used to do spaceship wars. We would take spaceships from different genres and different television shows and movies and say, who would win, that kind of thing. This particular game from Capcom is not actually just purely player versus the dinosaurs and whatever. It's actually player versus dinos versus player, and with objectives. So there's no co-op plan for this yet, I don't think, but it actually adds a whole other element of gameplay into this one. What the heck is this?
That's Orion Prelude.
Oh my gosh.
And if anyone wants to experience it, I was once by the devs given a 10-pack, and I still have 2 left that I can give away.
How much is this? 99 cents?
It's a fun game. Oh, it's probably free now, but it's in my library. I've still got 2 free copies to give away.
Spectre's past return to haunt AMD and Intel, featuring some outrageously generic clip art here.
Intel was looking into some problems, and they looked and they said, you know what? AMD is definitely going to suffer from this. So they pointed out that, AMD's solution isn't going to be, they're also still vulnerable to a specific type of the multiples of Spectre flaws that exist. And it kind of bit them in the butt as well by realizing, oh, crap, we're also kind of vulnerable to that. And so there were some mitigations put out, and Phoronix is, as usual, is the best ones to sort of do the insane benchmarking. And they could find one benchmark in which you were seeing about a 8 to 15% drop in performance on AMD and a 20 to 26% drop in Intel. Hence, all the wonderful headlines we saw over the past week about how there's a horrible Spectre flaw that ruins AMD's performance. But this is the one specific benchmark that was what everyone went off of, and Intel was actually worse off.
Yes, that was what I read as well.
So if you actually look at the geometric mean of all test results,
there you go.
Phoronix, the difference is very small. It's about 1.1 points on their chart, 73.70 versus 74.80. So this is not the worst we've ever seen from Spectre. So hopefully this continues. No. Here's an exciting story for all of you users of TP-Link routers. According to a story on Tech Power Up, TP-Link may be sharing all of your router traffic with a third party. The poster contacted TP-Link, who claimed that the data was sent to check if the owner of the router had an active service with Avira or not. But as this article says,
80,000 requests a
this
day.
sounds rather preposterous considering that it wouldn't require 80,000 requests per day. That's about once per second. So,
And it didn't change no matter what option they selected in the opt-in, opt-out. Are you part of the program? You're not part of the program, which had configuration switches. It made absolutely no difference. It continued to call back.
Yeah, a couple of people even went for a paid version.
Yeah.
To see if that changed it, and no. No, they just had less money. It was still phoning home every second. Or, phoning home. And if you disabled it, the routers got stuck because it didn't get its ping, so now it needs to retry it and retry it and retry it. So all of a sudden the CPU usage on it is spiked through the roof, and nothing is working.
And by disable, by disable you mean you actually had a firewall that would block the outgoing connection.
Yes,
because there was no way to disable it via firmware.
Yeah. So now it gets stuck in a retry loop until it either cooks itself or you admit that, okay, fine, I'll just let you do it.
Yeah. It's pretty bad news.
My only question is, can you run open firmware on those routers? Or do you even trust them at all at this point?
Open WRT. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe a lot of the later ones they haven't been able to do, especially if it's a Broadcom chip, I believe is the one that they've just sort of given up on.
Well, that means there's no standardized router. And plus they throw crap in there so you can't run WRT. And it's just, it was something that I was surprised WRT lasted as long as it did, because it's not, I guess in some ways it makes your product more sellable to a certain group, but at the same time, if you want to lock down on stuff, it's
you've lost control.
Yeah, and of course, if you want to sell stuff to people, you want to sell a further service like pfSense does with their next gen whatever, I can't remember their hardware group. You can't do that stuff, and so they lock it down with stuff you can't get into. It's all black box.
It's probably easier to buy something else.
Something like a UPS. Forget it. Save your money on that fancy new router. Get a UPS instead, because there's no way that could be a security risk, right?
Much better.
It's just a dumb device. Oh wait, no, this one says smart on it.
Yeah,
what could possibly go wrong?
That's the worst question to ever ask a technician.
What could go wrong?
Well, let me tell you. Maybe, it's a really sort of crappy implementation of transport layer security that offers both a buffer overflow and an authentication bypass. Because that's what you want in your UPS, isn't it?
Why not? It's added value.
It has hidden features.
This is just a lesson to stop plugging your UPSs into your network.
Yeah, I do not plug.
Smart UPS is not. It doesn't have to be smart. You can just not use Smart Connect, and that way when it goes out, you won't find out about it till someone complains about. There's a strange beeping noise coming from that closet.
All right, look. I mean, are you plugging this in your network because you need remote management? And what are you remote managing? Are you remote managing like a desktop machine or like a server class machine? A server class machine should have a proper lights out management card in it or something like that.
Exactly.
You're not talking to your UPS, as a matter of course. So please don't plug them in your network and just sidestep this.
No, the ID rack vulnerability is more than enough for you to deal with at this point. So, yeah.
Long live
my
iDRAC.
favorite part about this is, my favorite part about this is that it allows you to remotely install firmware. Now, I don't know much about the insides of a UPS, to be honest. I've never really played with them, but I'm thinking that if you were to take like a serious, like a 1200 watt watt-hour UPS and then flash it to the 5000 watt, you might have a fire happen. If suddenly it thinks that, I can take all of this throughput, no problem. This wattage and amperage is well within my area. Or, that you've suddenly just become a 30 amp UPS. You're no longer a 15 amp. You're a nice 30 amp. Oh, okay. Or the reverse. You're a 30 amp going to a 15, and all of a sudden you're receiving 30, but not expecting it. I don't know. UPS firmware doesn't sound like something you want to be corrupted.
No.
I think it is time to pause again for a word from a podcast sponsor.
During this great reshuffle, a record number of employees are considering switching jobs, so now's your chance to try and attract them. LinkedIn Jobs is here to help you connect with the people you want to interview faster and for free. I know that using LinkedIn Jobs has worked for me in the past and connected me with qualified people and hiring organizations. You can create your job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and well beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 770 million people. Then add your job to the purple hiring frame on your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the right people to hire. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and then hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/PCPer. That's linkedin.com/PCPer to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
We're back, and we're going to talk about something that will be of interest to anybody who was into computers in the late 80s, perhaps early 90s, and remembers the Amiga, the preferred platform for forward-thinking people who liked things like, high-quality graphics, high-quality sound.
Co-processors, multitasking for real.
Trash 80 people.
Real multitasking. Just going to keep kidding on that one.
And the lower cost A500, that wedge shaped, with the integrated keyboard.
Yep.
The A500 mini retro Amiga console. It exists, and it's in some early reviewers' hands. Find some YouTubers like Retro Recipes that I have queued up here.
That's the one.
I'm interested in what the teardown reveals.
Well, that
and the thing is
tiny.
small. Yeah, I was disappointed when I realized it was going to be small and it was not going to have a working keyboard. At that point it's just a shelf or something. No floppy drive. It's not like one of those FPGA based things.
But it has battle chest.
Well, of course it has battle chest. And then you can load your own games on it too. I know that it takes just USB thumb drives. Let's
Battle Chess was awesome. I loved Battle Chess.
Wow. It has the very first one.
Wow.
Oh my god!
This is also the only one that shipped, as far as I know.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is final. I don't see any letters on those keys. Maybe this is not the final version. It may be unpainted.
What does the floppy button do?
It ejects it.
Nothing.
Maybe you have to for your own decals.
Okay.
Remove the decal.
Using a screwdriver. Yeah, we've done that before.
Motorized screwdriver.
So much talking.
Yes. Get to it. Good.
Open it.
He's got to tear off the number, doesn't he? He's mad.
Just go halfway through. Go halfway through or something.
His dog's getting into it.
It was just a tease. It was literally, he didn't show the inside of it. Come on.
Oh.
Okay. What a waste of time.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, but it wasn't, though. Because I got to make fun of the Sinclair ZX reboot and how the Atari VCS turned into a complete and utter crap show. So, yeah, that was more why I posted it. And the fact that, hey, these guys actually within a year and a bit have produced one model and sent it out to people.
Well, I hope it has a Super Agnes inside.
It should.
You need all,
I don't know.
Who's Agnes?
You need a full 1 megabyte of chip RAM. That's all I got to say about that. Mm-hmm.
Well, hey, you can pre-order right now on Amazon for just $139.99.
I might try
Get your
this.
possibly complete A500 Mini with painted keys and stickers.
Looks better.
$140.
See, now, Sebastian, a guy like you, I think you would have appreciated your own keycaps on there and certain decals you could apply. And
I know, I would
That
like
sort
that. I just wish it was full size. This same retro games company put out a C64 in, I think, a full size, didn't they? Or am I completely out of my mind?
Oh, do they still sell it?
All this.
Actually, no. What am I thinking here? Because there was a C64 Mini and a C64, I thought. C64... Let's just C64. Let's see.
Well, they've got a
there's-
maxi and a mini.
There's a mini version. Because the mini was super cheap. This is $40. I thought there was a full size one. What
There's
is
a
that one?
maxi.
Oh,
Look up
It's
Maxi.
called the Maxi.
Yeah,
Okay.
try that.
That's probably already unavailable again. Currently unavailable. There are people out there.
Full size working keyboard.
Did you see that? Yeah, the keyboard, full size.
Yes, I know.
working
That's
keyboard.
what my
Yes.
whole point is. That the full size one was more expensive but had a working keyboard, and that the mini was like this $40 little, ARM based thing. It was an emulator. It was cheap. So I thought when they announced the A500 mini, I was excited, and then I realized, wait a minute, it's going to be small. The keyboard is just molded plastic. It's just an
And
emulator.
it's more ARM.
And it's just more ARM. It's just more emulation,
ARM.
which you can do on your PC. And it comes with faithful-looking mouse and controller. But
mouse
as you can
looks-
see, they're
mouse
almost the
looks
same
great.
size.
Yeah.
Almost the same size as the unit.
Oh my gosh, that mouse.
And
Oh my
the
gosh.
Atari joystick should be compatible with it.
Yeah, it's just that. What is
Until
it?
you
The
break it.
9-pin connector.
Yeah.
Okay, another disappointing story.
It's all disappointment. Like, that's
pretty much.
2022. Have you not figured that out yet?
All the way down.
We can seamlessly transition from that story into this review of a low-profile mechanical keyboard from Cherry. This is the Cherry MX 10.0N RGB mechanical low-profile keyboard. And yes, it is from Cherry. And Cherry doesn't just make office keyboards. We've shown a Cherry RGB keyboard recently. But this one is very interesting because they have this mechanical low-profile switch that has found a home in some like high-end gaming laptops. I think is what their kind of like the intent of these switches is. And I will scroll down so you can actually get a look at the switch itself. Here is a graphic of the switch in action. As you can see, it has a rather...
Keyboard action.
It has a very shallow actuation point. There's a pre-travel of only 1 millimeter.
Did Michelle?
Did he just do hot keyboard action? Did he really do that?
No. Scott Michaud was one of the first to do the
Yes, he was.
animations of how these things actually work.
Yeah.
I hope they're paying him money.
The key switches specifically are Cherry MX Low Profile Speed RGB. So these are linear switches. They're going to feel similar to like a red or a black, but they're the speed. So like a silver switch.
Yeah.
They're linear switches. They have a 1 millimeter pre-travel. They have a 3.2 millimeter total travel, and they have no click. These are not tactile. They are just linear, as the name linear implies, of key switches. Moving on. So, according to Cherry, thanks to the successful switch characteristics of the MX Speed Silver combined with a particularly low overall height, the Cherry MX Low Profile RGB Speed Silver triggers directly and extremely quickly. 35% lower height than the standard height switch, which makes it the fastest switch in the Cherry family. You can read more by clicking on links in the article. And here is a look at the RGB. This is the RGB variant of the low profile speed, of course. And I will say, I don't like speed switches, but there's something about the combination of low profile, shallow,
Depression.
yes, and speed switches, and it was great. And I am a sloppy typist, so I was writing the review on this keyboard, and I was making some typos because I tend to kind of hit adjacent keys slightly, and if there's a very shallow actuation point, I can actually, type those spurious inputs, but that's my problem. Overall, I should mention the build quality of this thing. Didn't even talk about that. It's an all aluminum keyboard, and it has the most interesting height adjustment mechanism I've ever seen. So completely aluminum housing, very premium feel, rock solid. The only complaint I had at all about it was the fact that it's just standard ABS keycaps, which it kind of makes sense once you look at the price point. But back to this adjustment, it looks like a laptop hinge, and there's one long aluminum bar that rotates out, and there's rubber feet on each side of it, and you can basically have infinite adjustment because the bottom of the keyboard has a long rubber pad along the front, and then these two rubber stoppers on the back, and then any height I chose, the keyboard just sat that way. I don't know if it's meant to be infinitely adjustable, but I could position
What if you get really mad at a game and you start hammering your fist? Does it then collapse?
I think if you hammer it hard enough with your fist, you can make it collapse. As you can see, this runs along the entire length of the back of it. It has these two very smooth, kind of 360 laptop hinges on it.
Yeah.
It's quite nice. I was very impressed by the build quality of the keyboard, and I loved the typing feel. The quickness of the switches was very good. You have to want a low-profile keyboard, obviously, but it was kind of like having a high-end mechanical laptop keyboard on your desk. So
nice.
And it's very, very quiet. It is as quiet or more quiet than most membrane keyboards. So I approve. It's $160. So it's on the premium side, but it's all aluminum.
So if you grabbed it by one end and smashed somebody across the face with the other, how would it do in terms of damage?
At least a D4, maybe a D6.
Let's go to that.
Yes, and I hate to say it, but we have now been obsessing over keyboard switches for a decade because this was published February 14th, 2012.
Wow.
Oh, boy.
Yes. Here are his little animations.
He did so good in those.
There's a blue. As you can see, it has a tactile feel because of that little bump in the pre-actuation area. MX Browns, which have kind of a combination of that linear and tactile feel.
Scott was an artiste.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And the reds.
Look at how far those puppies depress. The reds.
Was this like a 4.5 millimeter travel? I don't know. Anyway. Enough about keyboards.
Please.
And our subjective opinions
Brett,
of
put
them.
the keyboard down and step away.
It is time to move on to picks of the week. Our 100% subjective, completely self-centered take on things that you should buy now, immediately, as you listen to this. Wherever you are, pull over and open up your Amazon app. Josh, take it away.
For that? Order it while you're driving.
Okay. So originally I chose a piece of hardware, but on second thought, I thought something different. So this last weekend, went down to Denver with my kids and wife. Haven't done a vacation like that in ages. I mean, it's not much of a vacation. It's 128 miles, but still, it was getting away. And I got some karting in, which was good. Did well. Kids didn't do so good, so I rubbed it in their face. But on Saturday night, we decided to go out to eat, and I like some, kind of English cuisine now and then, and they had rather specific beers and single malts there. And we found this place called Pint's Pub. And I thought this place would just be absolutely slammed because of the ambiance, the food, the beer, the single malts. And there was like 8 people other than us there. And it was on a Saturday night. And my wife was looking to like buy a t-shirt, and they're like, well, we got to raise some more money before we do that. So here's the deal. Their food was excellent. And for downtown Denver, it was amazingly priced. I mean, what you would pay for just a regular small city good meal. And it had plenty of food. It was good. They have a bunch of beers on tap, stuff that they brew there. They have something like 250 single malts stacked around the bar. And it's a fun place to go to. The service is great. And you know what? If you're in the Denver area, please go to these guys so they can survive. I don't understand why they were not packed, because everything was great. And I can't complain.
Did they have a Port Charlotte 5? Did they know it?
I didn't have a chance to go through the entire thing, but I had a Pandaren Gold, which is actually a Welsh single malt.
It's a Welsh whiskey.
I've never had before. Yeah, and it was good. And I mean, they serve things as they should. They actually have, cask ales there with the hand crank. And I mean, you don't get as much carbonation, and it's warmer, but it's a cask ale. What can you expect? When they served me my single malt, they had a little, thing full of spring water for me to drop in my single malt. It was fantastic, and I hope that they survive because it's a great experience. The ambiance is fantastic. It feels like an English pub. You walk into the Eagle in Cambridge, and it's same kind of thing. A lot of that same stuff. It's go support your local business. If you're in Denver, you owe it to yourself to go down and have a meal there and see what you think. Again, it's not inexpensive, but for Lodo, it's super inexpensive.
Excellent.
So yet another thing to do in Denver when I'm dead.
Yeah.
Why would you have to die to go there?
Yeah. It's a good movie.
All right, Jeremy.
Okay.
Pick this
Give it a name, Jeremy. Give it a name.
Things to do in Denver when you're dead. It's a good movie. No, it's not a sex toy. It is a
for work.
It does get.
But you paused. But you paused long enough for everybody to think it was.
Of course, I did.
Is that a bong?
I didn't even show you the one-way valve at the top.
Oh, for God's sake.
It's actually not.
So is that
This
like the Chinese finger trap, except for other parts?
Well, that sucks.
This
blows.
can go from suck.
She went from
blow.
suck to blow. Yes,
To blow.
It does. Because the thing is that the canned air behind me, I mean, I hate it. It's stupid, it's annoying, and it gets cold in my hand. So eventually I've decided to pick up one of the, ones that have a built-in pump in it and just blows. But the thing is that what's never made sense to me is that when I do compressed air and I've blown out the machine and there's just dust flying everywhere, is it not make sense that you could just reverse the motor and suck it in and have a nice little thing to capture all the dust and hold it? So yeah, when I bought it, it was on sale. And it'll be cheaper in America. That's the $80 is the Canadian price. But this thing actually works pretty well. It blows things out very well, and then you can also, once everything's loosened up, vacuum it up, and the one-way seal on it works very well, so that it does actually just sort of collect in here, and you can just wash it in the sink, and away you go. I bought one of these before that was about a 20,000 RPM, and essentially it was like wafting a gentle breeze across the dust on my GPU, which didn't care at all. This is 60,000, so it actually does have an effect, and you get to slurp up all sorts of pet hair. I highly recommend these things, because if you're going on with a full-on shot back into your system, you're gonna have problems. There are static. There's going to be some interesting feedback from the fans as you run them the wrong way and they send current back as opposed to forward. I knew a friend that used to complain about his PC all the time, and he used to take it to the gas station. Oh yeah, no, I just dialed it down to about 40 PSI and blew it out. Yeah, okay, that's definitely not going to have an effect on any of the. Did you notice any surface-mounted diodes flying out as you were blowing it out? Highly recommended, though. Brett, what you got?
Nothing quite as titular as that. No, nothing nearly as fun as that. I needed a new form-fitting sunscreen, and when that great big giant yellow ball in the sky finally comes out for summer again, please stop baking your car. Keep it on the outside, but get a form-fitting one that actually fits your window better and doesn't leave little edges open and actually goes from top to bottom properly. The Walmart one might be $7. This is going to be a little bit more expensive, so it's going to be close to like $40 or something like that, but it fits perfectly. Get a form-fitting heat shield for your car and keep the sun at bay so that your nice car's dashboard doesn't get all cracked and dry. And you won't need to lotion it. You won't need to put the lotion on it.
Okay.
But seriously, form-fitting windshield sunscreens.
All right, for my pick this week, which is back into the realm of PC hardware, well, accessories anyway. If you've looked at large storage recently, you may have noticed a trend. The price has fallen quite a bit. I was looking at this Western Digital Easy Store 18 terabyte external USB 3.0 hard drive. Now, as you know, Easy Stores are famous for, harvesting semi-professional grade large storage from. And for $299, this is a savings of $217. And I think this offer is good for another day or two. I'm hoping this trend continues because the price on this stuff seems to be falling quite a bit. The prices range depending on, of course, the capacity. $269 for 16 terabytes, $249 for 14 terabytes, $219 for 12 terabytes. And the 8 terabyte is $159. Back in the day, I paid, I think, $169 for a 10 terabyte on sale. So this isn't quite as good. But, I mean, an 18 terabyte drive for $300 is pretty much...
that's pretty dense.
As good as you're going to get. So, yeah. That's my pick this week. That one, I think, is a Best Buy exclusive, the Easy Stores. It says only at Best Buy. But, it's a Western Digital drive inside of a plastic box.
And eBay.
Oh, yeah. And eBay for all the harvested drives out of it.
Right.
So that's our show for this week. Thank you for listening and or watching. We'll return again next week, probably, to do it all over again. That's a warning.